Good evening, everyone, or if you're in a different hemisphere or planet, disregard and adjust it to your time zone. Team Fortress 2, a game with so much diversity and a myriad of different playstyles. Whether you're a useless battle medic or a helper soldier, you can have a ton of fun mixing things up, trying new methods and treading the battlefield. This list will be showcasing the best loadouts, in my opinion, for competitive gameplay. Some stock weapons may appear, so be wary, but will not be restricted to. With that said, let's dive right into the madness. Scout. As one of the most annoying classes, one cannot deny that he is certainly really fun to play as. So to be more elaborate, Scout is the fastest class, if it wasn't obvious enough. Which means the best choice is to emphasize on the idea to always keep moving. How do we do so? On our primary weapon slot, we have the default scattergun. The scattergun is a very versatile weapon. Sure, we have the force of nature and the others, but the scattergun doesn't have any speed penalties or any sort of ammo restriction, which is why we have it. But why is this important? If you're playing as a competitive scout, you want to constantly be moving without interruption. That cancels out the force of nature, as it will mess up jumps with the knockback. Jumping is vital, which will 100% take out the babyface's blaster. Soda Popper has the ammo and damage penalties, which aren't wise choices. Back on the topic of jumping, comes our next weapon, the Winger. Sure, the Winger has a very clear ammo restriction, which will ruin the damage output, but is compensated for good aim. Higher damage per shot, and a main stat of the higher jumping ability. Quickly switching weapons will grant you unique and swift ways to make a getaway or sneak around flank routes. With enough practice, you can dodge projectiles and incoming bullets. Think of this weapon of a tool rather than an actual weapon. Just like the default pistol, it can also be used to pick off weak enemies. The Winger is also easy to use when you want to get on ledges you are normally not able to reach. And last but not least, we have the Sandman. The Sandman is another tool that is used to get kills with the scattergun. The point is to stun enemies and aid your teammates in the midst of battle. And honestly, apart from a 15 health penalty, the Sandman is a direct upgrade of the baseball bat. There really isn't anything else to say about this weapon, apart that it's a tool. Just remember, as a scout, always keep moving. One of the most overplayed classes of Team Fortress is the Soldier, and for good reasons. Soldier is a very useful class and an all-around team player. So what is the best loadout for an effective soldier? We start off with the Liberty Launcher. Hold to stock rocket launchers and your shovels. Let me explain. The Liberty Launcher is surprisingly effective. Sure, it has a damage penalty, but that's just about it. It has faster projectile speed, which means a lot. Now allow me to touch on that. The speed is perfect for ambushing enemies, taking flank routes, rocket jumping around, and dealing more damage in a set succession of time. Not to mention you have 5 rockets compared to the regular rocket launcher having 4. You can pair this weapon with fast switch weapons to pick off enemies swiftly and properly. Random crits with this weapon are so satisfying because the projectile speed can really improve your aim on time. Our secondary spot is a reserve shooter. Sure, it got nerfed, only enemies pelted airborne by knockback can get hit by mini crits. But that doesn't mean that it's completely useless. The faster switch speed helps with the quick and pick kill combo. With the Liberty Launcher, the 5th rocket can help you jump around and swiftly knock enemies airborne so you can finish them off with the reserve shooter. This loadout is for constant movement. Soldier is a slow class, but with this loadout you can swiftly surprise your enemies. Finally, we have the escape plan. The escape plan is self-explanatory. It is a tool for running away from a fight that is going wrong. You can work interesting rollouts by damaging yourself and picking up health packs along the way. It can be used more offensive as you can run as fast as a scout with enough damage. However, I do not recommend you to do so. Now, when you think of Pyro, what do you think of? Well, for me, in my personal opinion, I think of Pyro as being a ruthless, ambushing killer. Now, that's actually how Pyro is portrayed. For example, in Meet the Pyro, you see he's actually like basically the psychopath of the group, which is 100% true. Now, Pyro's playstyle is based around being ambushing. Now, our first weapon is a degreaser. Yes, I know the degreaser has been nerfed, like it's been considered almost useless, only because of the air blast nerf, but honestly, the air blast is still useful for a certain reason. I'll touch on that right now. If you set someone on flames with the pyro, and then you air blast them, you can easily deal critical hit combos with other weapons. And the degreaser is only here just to aid in getting kills with the other two, so the degreaser here is kind of the tool. Now here's where the other weapons come in. Now we have the scorch shot. The scorch shot honestly is really useful. Sure, it's annoying to play against, but it's way better than the detonator. People keep underestimating the power of the scorch shot and continuously go for the detonator or the flare gun. The flare gun is useless. Let's just leave it at that. Well, now it's useless. The detonator is really hard to control. It's kind of confusing and uncomfortable. But the scorch shot is perfect. You use it to set an enemy on fire and ambush him with the next weapon, the extinguisher. The extinguisher is really badass. It looks like a weapon that Pyro pulled out of prison or something. But this weapon is honestly really useful now. It got an update, I believe, in gunmetal, where now it can finally deal full critical hits once again, but it does them not as much damage. But easily, the extinguisher could easily pick off like low HP classes such as sniper, scout, spy, engineer, etc. But honestly, Pyro's close range is emphasized perfectly in this loadout. Now use the air blast to push people upwards so you can finish them off with an extinguisher shot or a scorch shot. And with that said, hope you still keep playing Pyro. Straight out of the Scottish Highlands, Demoman is my favorite class of Team Fortress 2. I love the fact that he has an alternate playstyle, the Demo Knight, but Demo Knight alone could be repetitive and very boring. So there must be a way to, per se, make Demo Knight more maneuverable. Our first weapon is a default grenade launcher. It is damn right useful. The regular projectile speed and 4 pills goes perfectly well with aiming. With enough practice, you can pull off air shots and chain shots like clockwork. It can take out nests and pills. It can take out nests easily because the pills are rollers. However, the lock and load does the job way better and faster. The grenade launcher is still more reliable, as hitting enemies is way easier, and you have 4 pills. You'd use this as a starter weapon to practice and stuff like that. Eventually, you'd upgrade to the lock and load. Personally, I like using the lock and load a little bit better for this loadout because I've gotten to the point where I can land shots easily. But if you guys still want to start off as a good Demo Knight or Demo Man Knight hybrid, you can use the grenade launcher. Next, we have the Tide Turner. And yes, calm down. I know you're going to be like, well, iLander, you said that Tide Turner was nerfed. Wait, oh god, that sounded really terrible. Alright, anyway, the Tide Turner is really good, honestly. I know you guys think that the Tide Turner was really badly nerfed. I know, and honestly, I really honestly miss the old Tide Turner where you get full crits on charging, and now you're strict down to mini crits. But why is the Tide Turner still useful? Now, the Tide Turner is because you use it to maneuver your way around areas, make good escapes, or to trick your enemies, and that's the point of this shield. And I like the design of it. It's a little boat wheel thingy. I forgot what they're called. And basically the little turning maneuver you can do, you use it to confuse your enemies, and sometimes maybe if you're good enough, you can turn the tides of battle. Get it? Sorry. And finally, we have, if you couldn't tell by my name, the iLander. The iLander is the damn perfect sword for Demo Knight. There are many choices. There is Hapsatuichi, Scotsman Skullcutter, etc. But the iLander is honestly the most reliable. Think of it as the stock weapon for a Demo Knight. Now, the iLander, for every kill you get more speed and more health. And if you're using the bootlegger, if you're using the bootlegger, or the bootlegger, the Aliwabas Bibudis, if you're using any of those, your health goes up to 235 when you have max heads, which is actually 4 heads. And if you're overhealed while using the boots, then you'll have 350. The max health you get if you don't have the boots on is 210, and I forgot how much was the overheal. But still, you're getting a really huge buff. Now, why is this more important? Well, now the iLander is used for perfectly chaining kills. Like, once you get one kill, you already built up more momentum for you to get another kill, and then you just keep going, like another one, and just keeps going. You're like DJ Khaled of TF2 right there. You're just getting more and more kills until finally you built your kill streak and you're running a high speed. The only things that can honestly take you out is your own stupidity, random crits, backstabs, or headshots. But honestly, if you really want to upgrade weapons, maybe try using the Hafizatoichi, but I heavily don't recommend using it with a grenade launcher, as you'll still need to switch around a lot. So with that said, hope you guys keep on knighting. And now for the heavy. The heavy, honestly, back then when I used to play, when I was a free-to-play, I honestly never liked playing heavy that much. Heavy was always cool to me. I mean, I like the idea of having heavy artillery in its name. And just being really tanky and able to mow down entire teams if played correctly. But honestly, the speed always bugged me. Now, this loadout is actually, Muzo covered it in his favorite loadout video. But basically the loadout is the minigun, which, like, first we'll start with the minigun. The minigun is just really reliable. It's really viable. Isn't that basically the same thing? I don't even know. And basically it's very useful because it doesn't have any type of downside. Sure, the Natasha and the Brass Beasts were just buffed recently, but that doesn't mean that they're better than the stock minigun. The stock minigun has no damage penalties, and honestly, for damage, I know I usually don't say it's a problem, but for when you're playing a class like heavy where you have to be dealing these types of damage, then it's heavily impacting the class. Now, honestly, the minigun is just really useful and very reliable. And now, our secondary weapon is the sandwich. The sandwich is a full 100% med kit that you can just take around, eat at any time, and save yourself from really shitty situations. Now, honestly, it's just the tool in the thing. Now, finally, we have the running gloves of urgency, or is it urgently? I can't even remember how to spell it. But these gloves are only used to make you get to the front lines faster. Using them to roll out as heavy is the best use of these weapons, of these gloves. Now, these are only purely tools because they deal the same amount of damage as regular fists, but keep in mind you're taking mini crits, so they're basically the heavy's escape plan. Now, honestly, if you're going to be playing heavy, don't try to melee fight with these unless you're 100% confident that you're going to kill your enemy. With that said, let's move on to the next one. You know, I never really liked playing as Engineer. Engineer always seemed like a boring class to me. I never found interest in actually playing as Engineer. But now, after a while, after experimenting around, I honestly like some of the weapons he has. The Rescue Ranger and the Thompson are two of my favorite weapons in the Engineer's arsenal. And yes, the Rescue Ranger is glorified by Uncle Dane. He praises it. He himself, he prays to it. He sleeps with it at night, and he even has intercourse with it. Okay, maybe not that. But anyway, our first weapon in this list this loadout is actually the Widowmaker. Now, I know the Widowmaker, it's actually really good. I know for you pro engineers out there, you guys know what this thing does. You could never, literally this thing could go on forever without reloading if you know how to aim. And why is that important? Because it helps you learn how to aim and shoot with your guns. It helps your shotgun aim, basically. And that's really important for this, because the reloading in TF2, though it takes 2 seconds or 1, though it does that, it can actually throw off your battle. So without reloading with the Widowmaker, you could literally easily take out heavy classes, even including a heavy, if you can ring around the Rosie. That's what I call it, when a heavy's just shooting around in a circle and you're just walking around him and you're just hitting him and stuff. And basically the Widowmaker is honestly just a really good weapon. If you have crits with this weapon, holy crap, can you do some good damage. First off, you get all the ammo back that you take damage. Like the damage you take comes back as ammo, but every time you shoot, it takes 30 ammo away from you. But if you shoot like 100, if you take like 100 damage from someone, and with the shotgun, then literally with the Widowmaker, I mean, if you take all that damage, you're gonna get all that ammo back. Now there is a problem with this. Since it's taking 30, if you're dealing less than 30 damage, or if you're missing, your ammo's gonna go off completely. And, well, it's pretty much all for that one, but I really have nothing much to say about the Widowmaker. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's more like a professional gun you want to use. Next is the Wrangler. Now, the Wrangler is important because it gives more defense on sentries, and it manually lets you control your sentries. Now, that is important. I mean, Uncle Dane has this weird strategy. I forgot what he called it, but it's when you just keep spamming the Wrangler and the Rescue Ranger. Basically, yeah, just go watch his videos about engineer, because I'm not a professional engineer. And now finally we have the Gunslinger. Now the Gunslinger is honestly a weapon from hell. But okay. The reason I'm using the Gunslinger is because this loadout is not for defense, it's more for like support. It's actually a pure support loadout. Your sentries are going to be going down really fast. That's one disclaimer right now. Your sentries will be destroyed really quickly. And if you have enough ammo from the Widowmaker, you could continue to place all these mini sentries, and it'll be useful in the long run. And with that said, hope you guys enjoy Engineer. Oh. You know, I never really mained heavy. I mean, no. I can't believe I already made that mistake. Anyway, I can't believe that, like, I never really mained Medic. Like, Medic was the first class I actually played in Team Fortress 2. And I remember, the first time I ever played TF2, it was Medic on Barn Blitz. Now, Medic is honestly is like a really good class. There is no reason why your team should never have a Medic. Now, honestly, Medic is the most useful class. There's Medic and Engineer that are two useful classes, but I think the most useful is Medic. Now, here's the list now. The first one, we have the Crusader's Crossbow. Now, this weapon is completely perfect. I know Array 7 glorifies his Bloodsucker, and he probably does some other things with his Bloodsucker, but I like the Crusader's Crossbow because of what it is. Now, the Crusader's Crossbow is like a little crossbow, which is cool. And recently, it got a updated sound effect that sounds way awesome and more realistic. And basically, with this, when you shoot a syringe or a bow at someone, what happens is that you actually heal them, and the further they are, the more health they get back, and you also gain a little bit of uber from your crossbow arrow. Now, why is this important? I mean, apart from the obvious, if you can't reach your teammates, I mean, there shouldn't be a reason why you're not in the front lines healing people. But if there's, for some reason, you can't heal a teammate, you can shoot a bolt at them and they'll heal almost completely in their health. Now, also, this weapon is a little confusing. Now, most projectiles, they do less damage as the further they get. But this weapon actually does more damage the further it gets. So, the farther an enemy gets, the more damage it does. So, I believe, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I believe it does up to 75 to 85 damage at far range, and from close range it just does a solid 50. I'm not sure, go ask a Ray 7 or something, but now we have any minigun. Now, as a medic, it doesn't really matter what exactly you're doing. That's completely contradictory to what I said. But I mean, the medigun is just your preference. Like, it's just what you choose to use. What's better for your team? What your team needs? Crits, Uber, vaccinations, or quick fix healing. But Yeah, it's basically what you choose. It's not really much of a best meta gun. One is better than the other because they all have their purpose and they're all really good. Now finally we have the Uber Saw. Now I love the Uber Saw because not only if you get in a 1v1 situation and you're almost into full Uber, and if it's a melee situation especially, just 1 or 2 hits with this thing will get your Uber up so you could escape, or you could just rely on random crits. But the thing about this is it swings slower than the Bone Saw, which I understand why people get a little annoyed of. But the Uber Saw is really good, trust me. Like, honestly, I know I don't main medic, but Uber Saw is really good, and besides, who doesn't like Uber chaining? Now, you guys be a good little boy and girl and go play medic, and not 3 spies. This may come as a shock for some of you, but I have a third main, and it's actually Sniper. Now, Sniper, honestly, like, ever since Call of Duty, I know what you guys are gonna say, but Call of Duty has honestly inspired me to play Sniper way more better. Now, when I tried to transition to TF2, all my sniping skills from Call of Duty, I found myself really messing up because I didn't know that body shots weren't insta-kill. Now, over the time, I did get better at playing Sniper, and I used better sniper rifles, and I finally found the one that I like the most. Now, the idea of a sniper is to be an assassin, right? So with that said, let's start with the first weapon, the Hitman's Heatmaker. Now, the Hitman's Heatmaker is pretty weird. Now, it's a silenced weapon, but it does less damage on body shots. But it does the same amount of damage on headshots. Now, this is kind of weird, and it's actually why it's cool, because if you headshot someone, it's not like other snipers where it just headshots them like boom, a bullet goes through their brain. No, this gun, it literally blows off their head. Now, this sniper is a little bit contradictory because, I mean, you're kind of a silent assassin with this weapon. I mean, you can hide in a good spot and silently pick people off the battlefield. But here's the weird thing. If you do that, and you're silently picking up people being a douche, then this weapon has 2 attributes that give away your position, and basically I believe that this is what balances the weapon. Now, let's say you're picking up people in the battlefield. If you headshot someone, their head blows off, right? If there's a bunch of people looking around, they're going to hear the person scream, and they're just gonna see all the bloody mess. Now, that's going to immediately alert them that there's a sniper. Now, the other thing is that this weapon has a special ability of focus. This builds up on the damage you do and the kills you make. I mean, like, the damage you do to a person, and then when you kill them, then that's when the bar starts filling up. Now, when you build up your focus, then it becomes like the Machina. It gets little lasers, but that immediately gives away your position, as these are giant, bright, team-colored lasers that people can see across the map. And that would instantly kills off your stealth. I mean, honestly, I personally don't like using the focus that much, but if you want to use it, you can. But here's our second weapon, the Cleaner's Carbine. Now let's see how this one works with the focus. If you turn on the focus and you take out the Cleaner's Carbine, you could shoot with the bullets, but all the bullets will start glowing into lines. You can use this to confuse your enemies in the barrage of lasers. Now, but that's not why we're here. Now, the Cleaner's Carbine, every time you shoot someone, the amount of damage you take builds up a little bar called the Crikey meter. And the Crikey meter is why we're here. Now, this turns on mini crits. Now, you're not using the mini crits to use them with the Cleaner's Carbine. You're using it to build up the next weapon called the Bushwhacker. Now, the Bushwhacker, for some of you may know, it actually does full crits instead of mini crits. Now, that's pretty important for a lot of reasons. Because if you're dealing let's say you turn on the mini crits and you take out the Bushwhacker, you're going to be doing full crits. And I believe it's about 8 seconds of full crits that you actually have. Now, personally, what I think about this loadout is that all the weapons contribute to each other, and that's why I think it's better. And the Cleaner's Carbine is a silent little weapon, and the Bushwalker could be used to instantly pick someone off, and the Hitman's Heatmare could be used to silently pick people off from the battlefield from afar. Now, honestly, this whole loadout is just the idea of the best sniper, like the best assassin sniper, and it makes you feel so awesome. You just find cool little hiding spots, and then boom, you're already dominating the whole team. With that said, hope you guys keep on sniping. And now we're at the Sneaky Frenchman, and this also may come as a shock for you guys, but I used to main Spy. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was like for a short time in my TF2 career that I main Spy. Now, here's where this loadout's a little weird. It's kind of like a mixture of the best loadouts you guys have heard of, but here's the first weapon, the Diamondback. The Diamondback is heavily underappreciated. People do not know what this thing does. I believe that's the reason people don't use it. Now, for every backstab and destroyed building you have, that you do, you get a full guaranteed crit with this gun. Now, why haven't people continued to use this? I mean, that's literally the only thing you're doing as Spy. You're just backstabbing and sapping sentries and buildings, and boom, you're on merry way. Why not get full crits for it? Now, I know it has a damage penalty, but still, you're getting crits. You're dealing way more damage than any other revolver, apart from if you're a hacker with the Ambassador, and you can land every single headshot. Apart from that, there is literally no competition to the Diamondback. Now, I guess you can miss your crits, and that's what happens to me sometimes, but it's all a matter on if you're good at aiming, and that's basically how it works for every single revolver. And now, we have the regular Invisawatch. Now, the Invisawatch is pretty self-explanatory. You just turn invisible. Now, why didn't I choose a Dead Ringer? The Dead Ringer is really overpowered nowadays. After the gunmetal update, it's really got revamped back up to the top. Now, the Dead Ringer is really, it's like, it gives it away. People can eventually find you. Now, the thing about the Invisawatch is that it helps aid in the next weapon, which is the kunai. Now, the kunai versus kunai is really, honestly, it's high risk, high reward. Every backstab you get, you leech a huge chunk of health. But for like every single life, you start off with a really drastically low health. Now, that health is, I believe it's 60, which means you cannot survive a melee hit from anything. And if you run into a Demo Knight, oh, you're screwed. Now, the thing is, when you use the Invisawatch and the kunai, you can use it to hide around, sneak around enemies, and just pick someone off. It's not a silent weapon. The kunai is not a silent weapon. It's basically the same as the regular knife, except you're just having the health penalties and stuff like that. And the thing about it is that you honestly just want to be using the kunai if you're good enough. But if you're not completely confident in your spy skills, then use the regular knife. And finally, we have the sapper, the regular sapper. Now, no, actually not the regular sapper, the red tape recorder. Now, the red tape recorder, I know people think it's useless because it does no damage, but it really, oh gosh, there we go. Pardon. Anyway, it really annoys engineers. Now, engineers are always on top of their sentries. They're like always all over their buildings. They never go anywhere else. But with this red tape recorder, you can really distract an engineer because it's lowering the levels of his building, so he's going to have to rebuild it back and gain all his metal back. Now, it's going to be really hard for an engineer. Just basically to bully engineers. Now, with that said, I hope you guys don't keep playing Spy because I really get annoyed with Spies. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the list. And what is the ultimate loadout in Team Fortress 2? There is constant controversy with this topic. Now, a lot of you say direct hit, buff banner, perfect combo, which they honestly are. Personally, my favorite loadout is the lock and load, splendid screen, and the iLander. Now, let me explain. With this loadout, you are a complete badass. You just go around the field ruthlessly and brutally killing people off the battlefield. This is not any type of strategic, soft, instantly pick someone off. No, this one is going to leave your enemies in a bloody mess. Now, Lock and Load has the extra speed and ability to destroy buildings really fast, which is honestly really perfect. And Crunchy Knot himself, he said the perfect thing. He said, this is basically the all-skill gun, which it honestly is. Because this is just for aiming. Now, a lot of you are gonna say, oh, this gun is dead. You should not use this weapon. Well, I just got one thing to say to you. You should really reconsider your life choices. So, basically, the lock and load is freaking amazing. Even though it's been nerfed, obviously it's not as good as it always was back then. Now it's still good today if you know how to aim. That's how every single gun in TF2 is. Every gun is good if you know how to use it. With enough practice, you can get enough to get used to it. Now, basically, lock and load is here because the grenade launcher is garbage. It is complete garbage for actually killing other people. Like, first off, the lock and load, you can literally snipe people across the map with the grenade launcher. How awesome is that? It's like noob tubing in Modern Warfare 2 all over again. Now for the Splendid Screen. I know instead of Charge and Charge I said Splendid Screen. Now Splendid Screen is here to deal massive chunks of damage when you charge at someone. Now this can really rank up. The more heads you have with the iLander, the more damage you do with the Splendid Screen. And literally once you have 4 heads and you charge at a fully overhealed heavy and get the Splendid Screen bash and the iLander crit, you're going to kill him. Now that is pure brute force. This whole loadout is for pure brute force. Now that's why I made my demo have this cosmetic set you see here, and basically this loadout is just for building up kill streaks and just getting those beautiful eye effects. Now I already talked about the iLander, so I don't have to mention it again, but basically this loadout is my favorite of all Team Fortress 2 and I use it all the time. This is a loadout I use in competitive, and this is the loadout you should use. The only real weakness you would have is good snipers, because they can headshot you and take away all your health. But you have to know how to dodge a sniper. And yes, it's possible to dodge good snipers. I've done it before. Now, you just pure brute force. Just think of it like that. This is easily going to scare people away. If they see you with all these eye effects just running towards them with this loadout, they're gonna run the other direction. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace, peace. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusion of this list. It's been my first list, and I personally think it turned out better than I thought. And honestly, Windows Movie Maker is I know it sounds pretty cheap, and it makes me sound like a really newbie YouTuber, which I know I am. I'm not gonna go on a limb and lie here. But honestly, I really think that I did really good. And I really like the editing options like that they had. I know it's just stock footages and stuff, but eventually, like, I'm going to save up to get Sony Vegas Pro, so my videos will be coming out with better edits and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just doing basic edits. I'm not really going really crazy about everything right now. I'm not trying to nitpick at little details and stuff like that. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna have way more videos coming up soon, and more videos are on the way. Basically, is what I'm saying. And honestly, I hope you guys have had a good day. I know I had a good day. Hope you guys have a good day too. And see you guys later. Bye.